Welcome to the Freelance Thrive. Here we talk with skilled freelancers about their professional journey. Stay tuned for real-life experiences to learn and actionable steps to take to improve your freelancing career. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Nadia Harris, founder of remoteworkadvocate.com, who champions a better and more flexible future of work, the author of the How to Tackle Hybrid Working book, the Freelance Unlocked 2024 keynote speaker, a great expert to learn from, and an amazing person to talk to. And today we'll talk about how AI transforms the hiring process and what freelancers have to do to break through all the automation and stand out. So, welcome, Nadia.
Hello, great pleasure to see each other like this again, and I hope I'll live up to your expectations.
Yeah, we had so many conversation already. Pre-Freelance Unlocked interview, Freelance Unlocked conversation. Then you've been on Freelance Unlocked online meetup, and like always sharing some great, amazing wisdom, great experience. So let's continue. I can't leave it up. I need to ask you more and more questions to get more and more of your experience. So let's continue with this AI thing and how freelancers can deal with it. So long time ago, recruiters had to go through hundreds of applications manually, find the best one, reach out to freelancers, and then hire them, hopefully. And nowadays, I bet things changed. And I think that recruiter process is so much faster. And what exactly has changed? Like, how does the recruiting process work now?
Yeah, so what has changed, like the biggest change is probably automation, right? Because before, recruiters had to source all the candidates manually, assess the CVs manually. So of course, they would look for keyword skills, keywords in general, but they also did it manually. Then they had to schedule all the meetings manually, right? And then just process everything step by step to an extent where, even like a very basic thing that I think everyone has noticed, it's scheduling meetings, which is not even like very much AI, like a change driven by AI, but it was, are you available on this day? Yes, no, okay. Oh, we screwed up the time zone, right? It was actually, I was waiting here. Why didn't you join the meeting? Oh, but I'm actually, I didn't know. And I had that, when I was working, for example, with the US and Europe, I always had to count manually everything in my calendar, things like that. But no, basically, now recruiters, I would say, definitely focus on more important things like building relationships and actually really assessing the culture fit. Although for the culture fit, there are tools, AI powered tools on the market as well.
So, what AI tools are there on recruiter side?
Oh my goodness, there are so many tools. I think I will probably also share some names, and as a matter of fact, so that the list is kind of like interesting for our listeners and watchers today. I actually took some notes before our meeting because I knew you would ask that question. And there are a couple of tools such as HireVue, for example. So here we have AI-driven video interviews, right, and assessments where but this is already during the interview process, and it already assesses the communication skills, the emotional intelligence even. So here, when I mentioned that there are tools for the cultural fit, then this is definitely something that helps. There are other neuroscience games as well to kind of like assess whether someone's emotional traits are, well, a good match in terms of a certain role, for example, right? There is also HireTool, which is, for example, AI sourcing, and it helps source candidates to match like a certain role. And I will explain in a moment what this means for individuals and also for freelancers, like what it means when AI is sourcing you, right? And so this tool, for example, creates a pipeline of potential hires. There is also XOR, it's like with caps. This is also like a recruitment tool, I would say. So it helps pre-screen candidates, which is very interesting. What I said, it had to be done manually before by recruiters. Now it's done, for example, by these tools and also other tools that are its competition, of course. It schedules interviews as well, which is also very interesting. So basically, I would say the biggest change is definitely automated screening, okay? And also then automated scheduling as well, if there is a match based on someone's CV resume, right?
So I feel like if there is so much automation that it can definitely be hacked. So do you have some tips for freelancers to hack this system?
So, and here's one of the most important things. If anyone understands the basics of marketing, in terms of, well, yeah, in terms of marketing, how keywords work, and here I'm talking marketing in general, but I'm also talking about SEO, for example, and I'm talking about Google Ads, right? This is what I mean. So the way you set up keywords there, this is exactly, well, not maybe not exactly, but it's a very, very similar story. So now, if people write their CVs and they build up a story about themselves, but they miss all of these keywords and they just don't think proactively, like what should be in my CV so that the algorithm catches it, then you get lost. Equally, what's also very important, there are other, I would say, well, not maybe not platforms, but programs, tools on the market that make your CV very nice from a visual perspective. Some of them, for example, are not read by today's AI-powered ATSs, and ATSs are automated. Well, those are recruitment systems, basically, right? So those are tools like or gateways where all the CVs are kept, right? Also for compliance reasons. And sometimes when someone makes a CV super nice from a visual perspective, it's treated as an image, not as text.
Hmm.
And it's also very important and that can also be very frustrating. So that would be my advice that every individual, number one, should focus on the keywords. And then number two, also check whether what they're using potentially doesn't, disqualify them just because the AI tool in place just isn't even reading it and even selecting it farther within the process.
How to find those keywords? For example, we have job description. So what keywords to take and to add into your CV?
Okay, so there are different strategies. So you're either applying for a certain role, and then for this particular role, you are preparing your CV. Great. This would be one situation, and I'll describe it in a moment. The second one is you are an expert who knows that you are applying to some certain roles only, and those are similar roles, right? Because those are based on your skills. So, and there the approach would be similar, but a little bit different. So if it's a particular role that you're applying to, I would say literally take step by step keywords from the description, right? Take them and put them in your CV. You can even do this multiple times, right? And here, what's important, don't rewrite everything. Because if you rewrite it from like a completely different perspective, whatever, some AI tools are smart and they will catch it, but others are stupid, literally, and they won't catch it. So they will be like, oh, it's not a match. So they're looking for the exact right match. And then in terms of having your professional profile and applying to multiple roles, because I can imagine that it could be frustrating for someone who's looking for a job or looking for a gig to adjust their CV each and every single time. Well, that would be very painful. So I would say kind of like audit what's on the market right now from this perspective, that look at multiple roles that are interesting for you as an individual. Take a look at the keywords, which are the must-haves, for example, can be from a tech perspective, whatever, those can be tools, yes, personal traits, but personal traits, I would say that it's not caught that much, especially during the first screening phase. And put that in your CV proactively, right? To see that yeah, that is just going to be a match. Another story is, of course, the years of experience and also the industry. Some tools are so smart that they will also see it. So if you, for example, worked in a different industry but maybe you kind of like, oh, that's a very good example. Some people that I know worked, for example, in an agency, and because of the agency, they worked within multiple industries, but AI won't catch it. So then I would make it even more evident, kind of like listing the industries in addition to that, right? Not just, oh, it's obvious that I work with an agency. You go check the agency's website, you'll see in what industry this agency specializes. No, 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 no. AI isn't that smart at this stage. Recruiters aren't either, you know, so sometimes you just really have to put it there. I mean, no offense.
It sounds to me like make your CV as if you were sharing it with a 5-year-old.
Exactly, exactly. And and think about it like, I mean, it's literally very, very similar to SEO and Google Ads. It really is, trust me.
Can one use just ChatGPT and tell like, hey, here is a job description. Can you help me to prepare my CV using keywords from this job description?
You could do that, but I play with it a bit, and I must tell you, it's not that simple because, well, I sometimes have deeper conversations with ChatGPT. Well, I say, well, this is really not what I had in mind, and what I wanted to do, and it even apologizes, and that's funny. Yeah, so I mean, you have to do your research very, very well. And then you ask ChatGPT, yes, it can help you. But then I would say sometimes when it comes to front end or back end roles, for example, in terms of IT, you tell them front end, but front end you tell ChatGPT create keywords for front end, but there are so many technologies that it literally won't know, and it will put everything in. Well, then it has to be you to kind of like understand what direction and what your skills really are, right? And that is a very simple example, but I would say that definitely refers to other industries and other roles as well.
So am I hearing it correctly that if you add keywords related to a job description or to the industry you're working with and making your CV as comprehensible as possible, so you add as much keywords as possible, that it helps you to pass through this automation first round?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the point. Because mostly what AI is being used for is this first screening phase. And why is this happening? Just to add a little bit more context, because the competition on today's recruitment market is huge. And I mean, I've been on both sides. So number one, I of course like work with individuals as well. And I launched my online course to help people find their dream job, whatever, whether it's freelance full-time. So I kind of like understand their perspective that it's very frustrating. But equally, I also understand the perspective of recruiters and talent acquisition teams that are extremely, extremely frustrated because what was happening within the past few years is they were getting loads of applications, and then most of them wouldn't even qualify, right? And then they had to manually screen each and every single CV. People often got lost in the process because imagine you have 200 or 500 CVs, two people or one person working on one role, on this particular role, but in addition to that, they have an X amount of other tasks. So if they screen the first 150 CVs, and I mean they're still alive, and they select 15 people that are great, they will never even check the rest. And as sad as it is, it very often happens that it's also the moment when you apply, because if you apply and someone has already been selected, or some people have been selected to go through the process, before it was the situation of AI that was very slow, because you literally have a poor individual, having to, whose eyes are hurting, trying to find out what the hell is going on, and they just stop. And that's very natural. And then I was in these shoes years ago when I also worked as a recruiter. And then I was getting messages like, why did you dismiss me? Or I never heard why I haven't been selected. Yeah, because you've been number 387 and I never got to you. And I have no idea what the hell. So now AI helps with that. But that is also an indication that from this perspective, if you get dismissed, this may also be the timing, because AI helps select quicker And then if the role is still open, but you apply, you don't know what's happening in the background. You could have been qualified, extremely qualified, but you just never got there.
Am I hearing it correctly that it's also super important to apply as fast as possible to a new role?
Exactly. From this perspective, yes. I mean, I would always recommend to apply as fast as possible, just because of the fact that, especially now when we are dealing with speed and AI helping select these applications, there are already people in process. There may be, I mean, there are still companies that say, okay, the first 2 weeks we gather applications and we don't check them, and then after these 2 weeks, we start with the first phase. But that hardly ever happens. I think that today, when companies are hiring people and recruiters are working and everything, they want to see right away what's happening and just keep pushing the candidates through the recruitment phases.
And also, it sounds like it's more common for our full-time employment. I think that if it's freelancer, that they see the match and they just go right away with the application.
Exactly. So exactly. And this is a very good point that you made. For freelance, when they see a match, and usually, when it's freelance, the need is there. They literally need somebody to do a certain gig, and the need is here right now. So they won't wait, for days or weeks or months, but they need to do it now. And then the faster you are, the better for you.
Is recruitment process stops after they receive a good candidate, or do recruiters usually keep other good applications for the future?
This is also a tough question because of many reasons here. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And this is, I would say, a very personal approach. And also, we are dealing with a compliance situation here. So I personally don't gather tons of applications because I think it's nonsense. And I remember, back in the day, these ridiculous questions, because I also worked in a recruitment agency in the past. And I remember so many companies asking, what's your candidate database? We have a database of, I don't know, 2,000 people. We have a database of 50,000 people. Great, but how many of these people actually are a match for this role? How many of them are open to changing their job? It's nonsense. It's a fake number. So from my perspective today, having, for example, tools like, be it LinkedIn, where if you build your connections and you have a huge connection base, so to say, the people know you, you interact, right? So then when you have a role, you post it, and then people even post it, you can open like a regular, project, right? That people can apply to. But this way, within your network, you can even share these, so to say, recruitment leads are alive. Those are people who will be really interested, or you can reach out to the people you know. So some recruiters today would say, no, we just don't keep it. It doesn't make sense. Plus, for personal data processing reasons, it's this way that today, when you apply to a certain role, and it's actually like this everywhere, it doesn't matter if you're a freelancer or if you are applying for a full-time role, you usually have to check several boxes that you agree to process your personal data for this particular recruitment process, or are you willing to agree to take part in future similar recruitment processes as well? But then still there is a processing time due to GDPR. And then at a certain stage, if you have agreed, I don't know, to, for example, 6 months, after 6 months, this application will be deleted. So if companies, for example, hire 50 people at the same time for this and a very similar role, they may say, hey, we want to keep it because we need this database. But I would say I wouldn't keep that because it doesn't make sense.
Got it. So let's imagine that we've passed through an automation filter, and for example, recruiter has like dozen of applications for one project, and let's imagine they came all in one time. So what freelancers should do to stand out of those similar applications to really land this project, to land a job?
It's your personal value proposition. That's what I always say. First of all, if it doesn't happen, and I know it sounds very harsh and nobody wants to hear it, maybe it's not meant to be, And I mean, I know that Some people who listen to me or to us right now would be like, yeah, it's a cool explanation if nothing ever works out. But sometimes maybe it wasn't meant to be. And it's true. I had that situation in my life when I spoke with multiple clients. Some of them just said no, whereas others said, oh, she's so amazing. And I mean, that's it. That's the market. I mean, that's what it is. And also, if in the beginning it works out well, great. It may be the beginning of a great long-term business relationship. But if it's bad in the beginning, why would you push? So that you're even more stressed out, and then at the end of the day, nothing happens. But coming back to the topic, what should you do? It's your personal value proposition. I would say, take a look at the company, take a look at the people who work there, take a look at the people who are going to have the interview process with you. Who are they, right? You need to know who you're talking to, right? Especially that if this is somebody that you will work with, then it either clicks or it doesn't. But if it's someone whose role is just to pass your CV farther, you should have a strategy and you should know, right? Because sometimes you feel like, wow, this gig is so amazing. I really want to do it. But there's this stiff recruiter that's like, oh my God, I need to pass that through that person. Find out who this is, right? And then I would focus, I would always recommend to shift the perspective. Why should this company hire me? Why am I special? What is the special thing about me, which would mean, oh, it's the factor why I am so different from other applicants, right? And sometimes that's going to be it. Sometimes it won't. Additionally, it's of course the portfolio. Very often, and I think that this is also an issue, is that freelancers, for example, they don't work on their personal brand. They don't invest in their personal brand. And then it's very difficult to sell yourself. Although you're great, you have no track record. And from a credibility and trust perspective, for companies, it's always easier to build trust with someone that they see right away all the great deliverables and all the great results. And this is what I would do. And of course, if you have like a large portfolio, focus on these projects, add them to your CV, add them to your application, talk about them that are similar to what the company is looking for. Not everything, like look at the factors that sell, right, for this particular gig or role.
So after a person applied, should they just add all the things to their application, or do they need to do some additional steps to really stand out?
I think the more the better, definitely, from my perspective, because today nobody has the time to read between the lines. Although I always keep saying myself that people are not a piece of paper and you should learn to read between the lines, especially if you are in the recruitment industry, because, well, paper takes everything and it may turn out that somebody has the most beautiful CV, but when you start talking to this person, you're like, no way, this is just not true, or the other way around. But the point is, nobody has time to think through if they have so many applications. So the more you are ready and to put on the table, the better.
I heard different stories. Sometimes freelancers say that it's good to find people on LinkedIn, to find their emails, to call them, to be this proactive person. And on the other side, I heard stories that like recruiters like, hey, I'm just going through applications. Please don't write me. Please don't call me. Please don't email me because I saw your application. And I'm like, so from your perspective, what is a good, like, or the best, or like, I don't know, at least workable approach to be proactive and do all these added things, or to just wait?
Always be proactive. Worst case scenario, someone's going to tell you no, but you have nothing to lose. It's very simple, right? I mean, it's sometimes this way. I mean, I myself, I've experienced it different ways. So sometimes I had people who actually applied and reached out to me, and I really liked their approach because I was literally looking for someone who's not, I was looking for, I think, a personal assistant at that stage. And when I saw how this individual was reaching out to me and how they found me, sent me an email, invited me on Instagram, sent me a message, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I need, right? So I see right away that this is a great trait. But then in other roles, when I, for example, hired and I did huge recruitment campaigns, and I had 50 or 60 people per day reaching out to me on LinkedIn, I'm like, I cannot do this. Like, just no, it's just, but it doesn't hurt you. It's not going to hurt your application. It can only help. So don't wait and do it.
Got it. And what freelancers should do, like even before applying, you were telling a little bit about building a personal brand. So, what is one step you suggest freelancers to take right away to ensure they have a plus minus constant stream of projects?
So the first thing is with everything that you do, and also in terms of your personal brand, there is one crucial aspect for me, which is called add value. It's not about I scored this client or I don't know, like look at my services. No, 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 no. Add value, okay? And it's sometimes this way that people say, "Oh, don't say too much because when you say too much, this is free knowledge and people should pay to get it." This is nonsense. I share a lot. I share a lot for free. I don't have any issues with anyone willing to buy anything from me just because I overshare. Like, no, just no. Like, don't listen to this, literally it's about authenticity and adding value. This is the first thing. The second thing is take a look at your contracts, what you currently have. When you see that something is coming to an end, maybe when you see that you have less workload, when you see that the company has financial problems. And the situation with financial problems is like really important today because we've seen so many startups fail and so many layoffs. These layoffs in startups have also affected freelancers and all additional projects and gigs. So, and it happened to me as well, of course, within the past few years where some of my contracts ended. But then it wasn't a huge surprise to me because I was monitoring the situation. And so like, oh, I signed this for 5 years. Suddenly what happened? What am I going to do? Like, sorry, but if you haven't been digging into the situation, pardon my language, but you were stupid. I mean, really, not checking that the whole team has already been laid off, 50 people are gone. The company is cutting all benefits for employees. They stop scheduling weekly check-ins with you. You see it coming. Don't wait until the last moment to say that you've mentally collapsed because it was unexpected. It was expected. You could have expected it. You should have expected it, right? So look at the length of your contracts. Look at the relationships. I would say proactively keep asking also your client if they're happy with your work, if there is anything to change, what the perspectives are. You need to take ownership. You need to keep asking these questions. And equally, of course, I would say, if you know that you still have the capacity, keep applying all the time. It's the same like it is with a sales process that you send 10 CVs and maybe one is going to, work out and you will even schedule an interview. So keep building your pipeline. If you're a freelancer, you're an entrepreneur. You're responsible for your sales, for your customer experience, for your delivery department. You're everything all together, right? And that makes it challenging, but at the same time, everything is in your hands.
Got it, got it. And also to a point about sharing value, you are definitely not the first person I hear it from. And many, many people say that share value, help people out there, just be open, share your knowledge. And what I found for me personally is that if I share something, there are always two ways. People can take what you share and do it themselves if
Yeah.
it works good for them. But also they can hire you and do it with you faster and more professionally because you are doing it like for like dozens of years and someone just starting to do it. But if they do it better than you, good for them. There is no lose-lose situation. It's always win-win situation. So I'm totally here with you on this page.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that.
And Nadia, I wish to have the sky as the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, what is your favorite food?
Oh goodness. No, this is I think it's probably steak. Um but it has to be really good steak that you don't chew on forever. And I like it medium well.
And what is the best way to connect with you?
Well, LinkedIn or my website, remoteworkadvocate.com, or find me on Instagram, remote work advocate as well.
Got it, Nadia. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, and it's been such a pleasure to hear and learn from you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure as well. Thanks.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button on 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.